everyone. Welcome back to The Cultural Witch. Here in the US, we're in that awkward time between Christmas and New Year's, so just a little short update. I was able to celebrate the winter solstice with a fellow secular witch, and it was wonderful. We had a really simple ritual, but afterwards we had a very long chat about lots of things, pretty much everything in between the mundane and the magical. Although we had it via Skype, it was a virtual ritual. I can still put it down as one of my favorite witchy moments over these past 10 years for sure. So, today's video is in response to an ongoing discussion I've seen on one of the bigger witchcraft groups on Facebook. It's the argument about karma, the threefold law, the sevenfold law, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure this has been a hot topic pretty much always, but debates have really seemed to kick up in the past few weeks, and I wanted to put in my own 2 cents. But as always, first a disclaimer. My videos are intended more for people who can't understand a certain situation or who can't make up their minds about it. I am in no way trying to convince others to change their point of view. If you don't believe in karma or the threefold law, that's fine. If you do, that is also fine. I'm just putting my own opinion out there in case someone else is trying to make sense of it all and my words might really resonate with them. So if this isn't your cup of tea, that's a-okay. So I'm just going to start off by saying I don't believe in karma or the threefold law, at least not in the way that a lot of people seem to be preaching it. I do, however, believe in consequences, and I'm pretty sure everybody does. What I'm going to talk about today is the difference between correlation versus causation. So I'm not entirely sure where to start with all of this, but let's try to unpack it. I simply can't believe in karma because, and this may seem like the most obvious argument, but there are bad people living in good situations and good people living in bad situations. So I don't really mean to say that people should be categorized as only good or only bad, but I'm sure we can all agree that there are people out there who have done bad knowing full well what they have done and who are, living in pretty decent situations. So, unfortunately, many of the people who can afford to make terrible decisions are often in a position where they can protect themselves from the consequences. So, some might argue that while those people may be living in material comfort, they're suffering in another way. And, to that I'd say, maybe. We can't really know for sure unless we are one of those people. But still, that doesn't answer the other side of the coin. The people who strive to do good on a daily basis and have misfortune after misfortune placed upon them. This is where the karma argument really actually starts to offend me. I'm sure we all have that one friend who you think is the sweetest person in the world but is constantly in financial problems or family problems, health problems, etc. Once again, some might argue that if a good person is truly good, the greatest reward is knowing that they're a good person. And fine, I hope that they do feel good about themselves because they should, but that doesn't explain or justify some of the suffering that I know these people endure on a daily basis. Another point against karma is the argument of intent. Like I said before, there are lots of people who do bad things, knowing full well what they're doing and how it affects others. But how does karma deal with harm done when none was actually intended? Or what about the people who genuinely think they're carrying out justice? If you're driving a car and a child runs out in front of you too fast for you to brake, and if you kill that child, would karma punish you, or should karma punish you? Or what about the people who say and do hurtful things with what they believe to be good intentions? The law of karma seems to suggest some kind of universal moral law that just simply doesn't exist for humans. Like I said before, for me it comes down to correlation versus causation. The way karma and the threefold law are taught would lead you to believe that your bad deed could be repaid perhaps many times over, and it could be the next day, the next week, the next year, whatever. This is like the ice cream homicide statistics. If you don't know what that means, go look it up. And actually, it's not even really like that. At least those two things have something in common, perhaps a common root. But if I do something awful to a classmate when I'm 16, it won't have anything to do with me getting hit by a bus when I'm 52. Unless that classmate can really hold one hell of a grudge. So let's talk about what I do believe in, which is causation or consequences, because of course I believe our actions have consequences. It's just that they don't always correspond to what we would like to believe karma to be. Like I said before, there are people who do bad things knowing that their position in life can protect them from some of the predictable consequences. Not all, but at least the predictable ones. To keep things short, I'm going to directly give examples involving witchcraft. So, Wiccans and other believers of the threefold law will often end spells with "and harm ye none, so mote it be," believing that if their spell intends to do no harm should come to them. Unfortunately, a lot of these people are also the first to jump on a post asking for good hex suggestions, so let's talk about hexing. Hexing is seen by many actually as a form of defense, and honestly, between hexing and punching someone in the face, I'd go with hexing because it won't get you into any legal trouble. As far as I'm concerned, if you perform a hex in the privacy of your own space, you tell no one, at least no one related to the situation, and then carry on with your life, I just can't see you having negative consequences for that. You don't have to worry about suddenly coming down with a disease or losing a family member or the plethora of badness that could await you if you perform one little hex. But that's not to say that hexing can never have bad consequences. If all the magic you ever practice is hex after hex after hex, you're probably dealing with a lot of negativity, and of course this will have consequences on your life, or at least probably. Just like people who don't practice magic but sit around all day and gossip and talk behind the backs of their friends, coworkers, and even family members. It's human to complain, and it's human to be hurt by the actions and words of others, but if your only reaction is to attack back, if you never try to practice healing or forgiveness, I'm sure there will be consequences for you. You might start losing friends, you might find that you can't trust the friends that you have, you might find it harder to find happiness in life, and there's really no supernatural explanation for this. It's just your actions having real life consequences. So you may have listened to this whole thing and thought, hey, that's the same thing that I just call karma, and that's fine. I know there are a million ways to believe in karma and the threefold law. I just choose not to call my belief those things, but you certainly can. I think my view on this subject does come from the fact that I am a secular witch. That is not to say that no secular witches believe in the threefold law, but yeah, that's about it. Anyway, as always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please let me know. Happy New Year, witches! Toodles!